Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Leo woke up that Tuesday with a knot in his stomach. It wasn't the lingering taste of last night's whiskey, or the dull ache in his back from hauling walnut planks all day. It was a different kind of feeling. A low-frequency hum of premonition that told him something was about to shift permanently. At 36, he'd learned to trust those instincts. They were the same gut feelings that guided his hands when shaping a difficult piece of wood. The silent knowledge that told him where the grain would resist, and where it would yield. He sat alone at the kitchen island he had built himself. The cool granite a stark contrast to the warmth of the coffee mug in his hands. Upstairs, the shower was running. Cora was getting ready. His wife of 7 years. Cora, 34 years old. She had always been meticulous about her appearance. It was one of the first things he'd noticed about her, 12 years ago. But lately, the effort was no longer invisible. He had started cataloging the changes. Like a detective building a case. The makeup, more elaborate. The clothes, tighter. The perfumes, new and exotic. Scents he hadn't picked out. Scents that didn't smell like them. The water upstairs shut off. The silence that followed felt heavy. He remembered her in the beginning. A brilliant financial analyst, but with a softer edge. Her smiles were reserved for him. Her energy directed toward the life they were building. In their quiet corner of Bridgeport. He worked with his hands, covered in sawdust. She worked with numbers and markets. At the end of the day, they met in the middle. Now, it felt like she was in a different time zone altogether. He heard the click of her heels on the hardwood above. When she came down the stairs, the knot in his stomach tightened into a cold fist. She was wearing a slate-gray blazer that accentuated her figure in a way that felt public. Paired with a silk camisole, and trousers so sharp they could have cut glass. The heels were high. Impractical. She looked beautiful. But it was a corporate, untouchable kind of beauty. It wasn't for him. That realization, stark and clear in the morning light, hurt more than he wanted to admit. "Morning," she said. Her voice bright, but distant. She grabbed a yogurt from the fridge. Swift. Efficient. Already at the office in her mind. "Morning," he mumbled into his mug. She paused, keys jingling. "You're quiet today." "Just tired," he lied. A quick, practiced smile. The kind she gave to junior analysts. "Don't work too hard. I'll be late tonight, closing a big fund." She leaned in. A perfunctory kiss on the cheek. Her skin was cool. The scent of her new perfume, floral, but sharp, filled his senses. And then, she was gone. The day passed in a haze of sawdust and varnish. He spent 8 hours in his workshop. But his mind was somewhere else. Replaying the image of Cora walking down the stairs. The sound of her heels. Clicking away from him. He had heard the name Julian. At least a dozen times in the past month. Julian said this. Julian suggested that. Julian is so visionary. Her boss. A 40-year-old man he'd met once. Rich. Good-looking. Supposedly divorced. According to Cora. That evening, he drove home feeling hollowed out. The life he had so carefully built, felt like a movie set. For a life someone else was living. He got home at 6. Covered in dust and grime. He was surprised to find Cora's car already in the driveway. She never came home this early. The scent of roasted garlic and lemon met him at the door. She was in the kitchen. Preparing an elaborate dinner. Grilled salmon. Asparagus. A bottle of expensive white wine was already open, breathing on the counter he had built. His internal alarm began to scream. Cora never cooked on weeknights. This was not routine. This was an event. "Hi, honey," she said, turning from the stove. Her smile was too wide. Too bright. The performance. Too perfect. "I had a quieter day. So I thought I'd do something special." He walked over and kissed her cheek. Forcing himself to act normal. He caught the expensive perfume again. Stronger this time. He went upstairs to shower. The hot water doing little to wash away the cold dread. They sat down to eat. At the table he'd built. He watched her push the food around her plate. She was nervous. She filled her wine glass for the 3rd time, before she finally blurted it out. The words rushing, held back under pressure. I need to tell you something. Leo set his fork down. He waited. Julian. He needs me to accompany him on a business trip. To Monterey. This weekend. He froze. Monterey? This weekend? It's an incredible opportunity, she rushed on, not meeting his eyes. There are major investors. They can only meet on Saturday. Julian needs me there. It's crucial. He placed his fork down carefully. His knuckles. White. And where are you staying? The Serenity Cove Resort, she said, the name, ridiculously romantic. The company got a corporate rate. He just stared. His silence, a heavy weight between them. And before you ask, she added, with a forced, brittle laugh, we'll be in completely separate rooms. It's just work, Leo. There was something in the way she said it. The premature defensiveness. The overly casual tone. The way her eyes darted around the room. Unable to land on him. It was a lie. He'd known this woman for 12 years. He knew, by the almost imperceptible way she bit her lower lip, by the slight tremor in her hands, by the guilty glint in her eyes, that she tried so hard to hide. Something inside him snapped. Not with a loud crack, but with a quiet, cold certainty. When do you get back? He asked. His voice. Flat. Sunday night. We leave Friday morning. She stood up quickly, gathering the dishes. Desperate for something to do. But Leo was no longer just worried. He was certain. And as he sat there, a plan began to form. In the cold, quiet space, where his trust used to be. Sleep was impossible. After he heard the slow, even rhythm of Cora's breathing, he slipped out of the room. He went downstairs to his office. His sanctuary. Tonight, it was his command center. He sat in the dark. The only light from the monitor. He typed, the Serenity Cove Resort, Monterey. The website loaded. It was exactly what his gut had told him it would be. A romantic paradise. A slideshow of breathtaking ocean views. Suites with private hot tubs. Candlelit beach dinners. Couples spa treatments. The slogan. Written over a perfect sunset. Read. Where love is reborn. No mention of conference rooms. No business centers. He scrolled through the reviews. His heart pounding a slow, heavy rhythm. Honeymoons. Anniversaries. Romantic getaways. Nobody mentioned work. The ache in his chest curdled into a hard, cold anger. He wrote down the address. New tab. He typed again. Private Investigator, Monterey, California. One result caught his eye. Marcus Vance Investigations. Specializing in infidelity cases. 25 years of experience. Office 10 minutes from Serenity Cove. Perfect. At 2 a.m, he filled out the contact form. His words, stark and clinical. The reply came with the sunrise. Mr. Hayes, I received your message. I know the place well. I can start immediately. My rate is $150 per hour, plus expenses. If your wife is being unfaithful, you will receive high-quality photographic and video evidence. Plus a detailed report. Leo called from the parking lot of a hardware store. Marcus Vance's voice was professional. Devoid of judgment. How long have you been married? Vance asked. 7 years. Together 12. Pause. Are you sure you want this evidence, Mr. Hayes? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Leo closed his eyes. He remembered, with a sudden, sharp pang. Cora suggesting a weekend trip last summer. He had brushed it off. Too busy. Too tired. The memory was inconvenient. He pushed it away. This wasn't about him. I need to know the truth, Leo said, his voice firm. I need certainty. Then you'll have it, Vance replied. I'll be at the airport when they land. I won't lose sight of them. Leo transferred the retainer fee. He didn't feel sad anymore. He felt a strange sense of power, of reclaiming control. He was no longer a victim waiting for the blow to land. He was setting a trap. The next 2 days were a quiet, methodical torture. He played his part. The loving husband. On Thursday morning, after Cora left, he went into her home office. He found it tucked inside an old folder. A printed hotel reservation. His blood ran cold as he read the details. 1 presidential suite. Check-in, Friday. Check-out, Sunday. Reserved under the name Mr. and Mrs. Julian Ashworth. Not two separate rooms. One suite. With trembling hands, he took photos of the document. He sent them to Marcus Vance. The reply was direct. That changes things. They're being careless. It makes my job easier. You'll have your proof. Thursday night was agonizing. Cora packed her suitcase in the living room. Leo watched from his armchair, pretending to read. He mentally catalogued every item. New summer dresses. A new swimsuit. The tag still on. Expensive a black lace lingerie. You're bringing a swimsuit to business meetings? Leo asked. The sarcastic edge in his voice, sharp as a blade. Cora laughed nervously. Not looking at him. There might be some downtime, a chance to use the pool. That night, lying in bed, Cora murmured, "I love you." For the first time in 7 years. Leo didn't say it back. He pretended to be asleep. Friday morning. Cora woke up early. Unnaturally cheerful. She wore a flowing white dress. From one of their first dates. The irony was a cruel, twisting knife. "Bye, love," she said, leaning in. He turned his face at the last second. Her lips brushed his cheek. He felt her hesitate. A flicker of hurt in her eyes. Quickly masked. "See you Sunday night." He watched from the window as her Uber pulled away. He took out his phone. He texted Marcus Vance. "She just left. I'm counting on you." The reply came 2 hours later. Along with the first photograph. Cora and Julian. At the boarding gate. She was laughing. Her head tilted back. His hand was resting casually. Possessively. On the small of her back. Tu intimate. To familiar. Leo felt sick. He had his certainty. The rest of the weekend would just be the punctuation. The updates came in a steady, relentless stream. Each message, each photo, was a nail being hammered into the coffin of his marriage. They just landed in Monterey. "I'm following." Took a shared Uber. Confirmed. "I'm behind them." Photo after photo. Cora and Julian leaving the airport. Cora and Julian arriving at the Serenity Cove. Cora and Julian checking in. Together. Cora and Julian entering the same presidential suite. A message from Vance. "I'm positioned in the hotel's lounge." They just left the suite. Dressed for a beach dinner. An hour later. A short video clip. Them walking along the beach at sunset. Julian. Holding her hand. The way she looked up at him. Her eyes bright. Her smile genuine. That was the look she used to save for him. Only for him. Seeing it directed at another man was a physical blow. "They seem very comfortable together," Vance wrote. Based on body language. "I'd say this has been going on for a few months. This isn't new." Leo dropped his phone. A few months. While he was working. She was living another life. The lie was so much bigger than one weekend. Saturday brought more devastating proof. Vance had a table at the same restaurant. "I know the manager," Vance explained. "Got the best seat for photos." The pictures were intimate. Damning. Julian holding her hand across the candlelit table. Them sharing dessert. Her wiping a smudge of chocolate from his mouth with her thumb. A gesture he knew so well. Another photo. Julian kissing her neck as they waited for the valet. His hand wrapped firmly around her waist. They went back to the suite around 10, Vance messaged late that night. "Curtains are closed." Leo couldn't sleep. Sunday brought the final, most painful evidence. Photos of them on their private balcony. In hotel robes. Hair messy. Photos of them in the suite's private pool. Julian kissing her in the water. His hands. Where only a husband's hands should be. The last photo arrived at 3 p.m. Cora and Julian in the lobby. Checking out. His arm around her shoulders. Protective. Possessive. "They're on their way to the airport," Vance wrote. "I'll compile the full report. I'm sorry for what you're going through." Leo thanked him mechanically. His grief had burned away. Leaving something cold and hard. He didn't want revenge. He wanted something worse. He wanted her to lose everything. The way he was losing everything. He had already called a lawyer. Now. It was time to prepare the stage for the final act. He drove to a print shop. Paid extra for the highest quality photo paper. Each image. Sharp. Undeniable. Devastating. Then he went to a department store. And bought several large suitcases. He returned home. And methodically began to pack her things. At 7 p.m. on Sunday, Leo sat in a chair in the corner of their bedroom. The 47 photos were laid out across their marital bed. A visual narrative of her betrayal. The suitcases were stacked neatly in the hallway. He heard her key in the front door. A cold rage boiled inside him. He heard her come upstairs. He heard her pause in the hallway. A moment of confused silence. Then, she walked into the bedroom. She had a tired but satisfied smile on her face. "Hi, love. It was such a product." Her voice died. Her eyes landed on the bed. The color drained from her face as she processed what she was seeing. Photo. After photo. After photo. "Leo, let me explain," she whispered. Her hands, shaking violently. He stood slowly. His face, a mask of icy calm. "Explain?" He repeated, his voice dangerously low. "You want to explain how these photos are a lie? How the man you spent the weekend with isn't Julian, your married boss?" Her eyes widened. "Married? Oh, you didn't know," Leo said. "Convenient. Do you want to explain how the presidential suite you shared, one suite, Cora, was just a booking error?" Tears streamed down her face. "Leo, I'm so sorry, it was a mistake." A mistake?" He laughed. A harsh, humorless sound. "A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This," he said, gesturing to the bed, "this is a choice. You chose to lie. You chose to betray. You chose to destroy our marriage." She took a step forward. Her hands outstretched. "Please, can we talk? I'll end it with him, I promise." "Don't touch me," he said coldly, stepping back. "Don't you dare touch me with the same hands that were all over him." Cora sobbed, collapsing against the dresser. "Leo, please, I love you." "You love me?" He interrupted, his voice rising. "You don't love me, Cora. You love the security I provide. The comfortable life we built. But you don't love me." He pulled out his phone. "Before you continue lying, I want you to know that these photos have already been sent to some very interested parties." Her face twisted in horror. "Julian's wife received everything 2 hours ago. Along with the full report from my private investigator. And your company's HR department also received a complete file. I documented every cent of corporate funds you used. The luxury hotel. The dinners. The champagne. Corporate fraud is a serious matter, Cora." She collapsed to the floor. Sobbing. "You destroyed my life," she whimpered. "You destroyed everything." He knelt in front of her, forcing her to meet his gaze. "I destroyed your life. You destroyed your own life, when you chose to sleep with your boss. When you chose lies over truth, lust over love. Don't you dare put that on me." He stood. His icy composure regained. "You have 10 minutes. Gather what you can carry. And leave my house. Your suitcases are in the hallway. The rest you can arrange to retrieve later. With my lawyer present." "I have nowhere to go," she cried. "That's not my problem anymore," he replied. His voice, a weapon. "You should have thought of that before." He glanced at the clock. 9 minutes. She tried to argue. To beg. But he was unyielding. A statue of judgment. He heard her drag her suitcases down the stairs. He heard her call someone. Her voice breaking with desperation. When the front door finally closed, the silence that filled the house was deafening. He walked back to the bedroom. He gathered the photos, one by one. He collapsed onto the mattress. He told himself he cried then. Deep, shuddering sobs, for the marriage that was destroyed. But beneath the performance of his own grief, there was something else. A strange and profound sense of relief. The quiet satisfaction of a project completed. A problem surgically removed. The house was quiet again. It was his house again. And for the first time in a long time, everything was back under his control. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next.